Say here with Representative Will Davis.
Nope.
All righty, and yeah, we're rocking today, y'all. 2 episodes in one day, so it has been great. Wanted to have Mr. Davis over one because Mr. Davis is part of a organization I'm part of, STAC, and so definitely thank you for coming. It's definitely a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Um, so as you know, you're on Deep Talk Radio, along with the South Sudan Network. Just actually to bring a more community focus for local groups throughout the South Sudan. So our focus with this is going to be we want to make sure we talk about make sure that the news that we put out so let's kind of dive into that. As I said, it's Deep Talk Radio. Free to dive in and just talk. So economic development. Let's talk about that first. What your thoughts on that?
Maybe just from a broad perspective, South Sudan community struggle development. Uh, it's through some of it is that you desire certain types of businesses to come into this region. We have first, we have education, we have all the tools necessary to grow substantial workforce, but we just engage in business and that was a multiplicity of ways. Some of it is some way look at our communities and say, we don't want to be there. I think that's why you see as not necessarily middle class, but community sector drive here because retail is good. Shop, spend money. Places where we would want to stay don't want to be in our community. They think, if we go work for the best, place of activity for it. So, what can we do? Shop. Uh, I think there needs to be some collaboration. And in terms of that space, fellas, how can communities collaborate together to attract development? It appears that one of the more successful South relatively in part because it has a reach, has a lot of traffic. So businesses I think I get a lot of traffic through that. But we have other things. So why 130 businesses and growth? The government has a travel so uh, to country places like that. Why is that? Don't really know the answer to that. Look at some of our corridors. You know, one of the businesses I mentioned yesterday. I know communities are being investigated. They're trying to work with their local chambers, development. Sometimes it's a matter of should we focus instead of big ones. Should there be more emphasis on small businesses that of course could drive growth communities as well. Um, so our communities just have to figure out which way they want to go. Figure out what suits that community needs best and try to bring more of that conversation into the space in order to be the impetus to their communities. A lot of our downtown areas struggle. That is where small businesses can really downtown areas. But how do you get those businesses to come into those areas and be in those areas and communities willing to sustain? No, small businesses need traffic. They need people coming and spending their money. Sometimes they start out with a gangbusters, but then it just kind of tails off. And that happens. Businesses
So in regards to, and I'm an advocate for small business. And in a sense, if you look at a business like us, say that do we something that will help, you know, move to right? And yet at the same time, like you said, downtown, how do we get
I think some of it is how say the business community engages in a way that they are actively talking about what they want, what what they want their communities to look like, or maybe I should say the way residents are engaging with municipalities and
Mm.
talking about what they want to see in their communities. And even in a town like Homewood, you've got Leon Halsted, which brings a certain type of development in. But when we look at downtown, it seems to be okay relative to small businesses and opportunities for small businesses. But as a community, our residents of the community engage local elected officials. And when I mean local business, I'm talking about municipal mayors, trustees, all in that community saying and talking to them about what they want to see. Some communities are proactive in certain trying to get to see what type of business or small businesses they want to see in their areas. And some are just intuitive thinking. This is rural communities as well. I'll give an example again. This is something I recently saw some pop. So I guess south of 167 West 150 exactly on South Park. South Park. They have built like a little village of small shops that are occupied by small businesses of different kind of businesses. Ice cream. Yeah, there's ingredients like pickles if you do it. Okay. But you know, and that could be a response to the community saying, you know, we like to have small mom and pop, small business type shops. We like to create space in our community. So they've taken that space. And there are a couple of other smaller businesses. We are biggest ice cream, so they're across the street. You know, so South Island maybe to and learn from what their community wants to do. Uh, some communities haven't figured out how to engage their to say, okay, we're going to take a 2 block area, downtown area. What would you like to see happen here? And start doing having development plan about that, whatever. Transit-oriented development also creates a space where when you have people who on or off the bus or train, uh, that also creates an opportunity. You can build a playground. And my guess is that uh, I said using places like Government State University, using students in their interns, you can probably get some of that input for free. So students can make it part of the project in order to credit to their degrees. So maybe that's an opportunity, but you know, who's leading, sometimes their focus is there. Sometimes the focus is broad enough, maybe because they didn't have the secondary, post-secondary education. Maybe because they didn't go to college, but like
Right.
what we always saying, they're not thinking about how they can use the university or what exists to help drive them. That's free aid. That could be used. I think do a great job those that want to get decent great projects. So sometimes it's just how do you encourage creativity necessary for those people who are in those positions in order to try to make that happen. From the state perspective, because the state doesn't necessarily do economic development, so the state I mean, use the word incentives, tax credits, different on the size of the business, things of that nature, in order to help. But these are the things that are out there, but it's still maybe we can bring it to the communities in order to help drive some growth and development in the areas. Something that is also, when you look at your community, like at the top of the table is a map of the community, and you identify, okay, here's our industrial center, here is our light industry here, and also looking at the map and saying, what can we do to grow these sectors of our community in a way that truly benefits the community, because often what we see happen in communities is that they use incentives in order to try to bring people back. And that's great, but how do you maintain that business?
Does that hurt when they try when you see the incentives?
It's not all, not all, but some of it is the longevity. Some businesses truly shop themselves around and say, okay, we got tax incentive, we got that. Let's get the tax incentive, start our business, and then when the tax incentive is up, they move on. And that is a risk that the community takes when you use those kinds of things to bring in business. Sometimes it's how can I describe it? A business we are looking at, it's broader, we ought to look at the community as well. What makes that community more attractive to put a business in other communities?
How would you get the state involved? I mean, should the state be involved with let's say like South Park, let's say like say like country club here? Of course. Should the state be involved to say, okay, this is what we have, and then let's plan this economic plan. And as you say, reach out about 10 acres. And build.
The state, of course, but here's kind of the trick to that is that the state has something out there that a business can take advantage of. So it has to be kind of a coordinated effort where if that business wants to come into Santa Town, in order for that to happen, the state something business has to
The business has to
business has to go after whatever the fruits processing are in order to then get, I guess, the incentive aspect and then subsequently they're having communication with the local municipality. And so it all just kind of works together. The business is able to apply for receive credit or no call or whatever it may be. And they already had conversations with the local municipality about the application and what's necessary to make that happen. Um, and that's kind of how the pieces fit together. In a lot of cases, what businesses, bigger businesses, are looking for is the infrastructure to build on the that's the tip. If you designate a tip area for this part of town, those dollars can be then invested to help build the infrastructure necessary for the business to come. So it's a widely used tool that businesses can, excuse me, municipalities can use to attract. And many do it to the best of their ability. But the idea is that once you get to the point where that stuff is, you renew it. Or if you're going to renew it, is that business going to stay? Is it profitable enough to stay longer beyond the life of the team?
now, this that being said, it's kind of back. Would they need to, now that they've gone to the state, now going back to the local level, did they actually find out from South Africa what the
Not always.
would you say that's something
It depends on the size of the business, though.
would you say
Because
that's something they should?
it depends on the nature of the business. Because again, if you're talking about the industrial side of town,
They said no.
it's just
Just
industrial.
doesn't.
It's just industrial development. Usually, if you're involved in the community, you're looking at those things where so that could be certain types of retail, restaurants, social activities, bars, or places where they love music, whatever the case may be. that's what you're asking the community, to keep those values in the community instead of going outside of the community. What would you like to see in this downtown? What types of opportunities? I mean, it really takes some real scrutiny by the municipality because you don't want a business to come in and open, and then because they don't understand business, they wind up closing. That kind of turnover is not healthy as well.
And it's a big turnover, especially if you're not understanding. Kind of, how do we? Someone wants to, let's say, for instance, do a smooth jazz bar in country club. How do we make sure that they understand the business aspect, from the state level to the local level, to even out to the, so that they stay. We want that. Does this person actually understand how to run a business?
And or pricing,
Pricing,
I
right.
mean, all of those kinds of things. And admittedly, I'm not a business. This is just how I to think about it. But I've heard stories about certain people who want to be business owners don't understand the aspects of being in business. And
Yeah.
that's from kind of A to Z. So that's not only whatever the menu is, if it's an entertainment venue, whatever it looks like, pricing, staff, make sure you got good staff, you want people to come, they're treated a certain way. And if you're a restaurant, pricing the food that way. And we understand, and I know I understand, that small businesses generally cost, because their volume, they deal in smaller volumes than larger businesses, and I get that. And so I walk into it, not really tripping about how much it costs. If I want to patronize, I'm gonna patronize no matter what, and if it's good, and if I enjoy the opportunity, I'm gonna come back. Whatever that is, for those that like libations, or the drinks, strong,
Right.
I mean, how's the food cooked? If that is
Right.
the case, whatever it is, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into running and operating business that I know nothing about. So
Yeah, I
I'm
can
truly
imagine.
the consumer
Yeah,
in that respect.
yeah, it's we've actually asked to do how to okay, on running a business. I've been doing this in regards to media broadcasting and entertainment since I was media broadcasting came. And from 16 to but I'm a young age. From 16 to where I am now, it was a learning curve. Okay. Definitely a learning curve. Because I'm 16 in high school, just understand the and music at that age.
I would imagine so.
Playing, when you go to a studio because I'm playing, backing pieces for the yeah, then we got to understand sales, production. Now, there's a whole other piece to it. A whole other piece to understand. You still have to have representation. Now you're dealing with not just playing, actually into that process that you can't price. You can't price it unless you actually understand what you're doing. I specialize in sound. How do you run that? So I say that to say it's a road worth walking. You still have to understand what it is you understand. You have to understand HR, you have to understand, the investors, those about on the board, you have to get because everyone's paying. So how do educate entertainment, whether it be restaurant, retail, fashion, like at home with like I found out. That's that's amazing.
That was somebody who wanted to invest. It, but if you don't know, the owner is perhaps
Really?
okay. His investment until it was knowledge. Yeah, it's well, it's also gave him a larger things. So it's really a package of a hotel really, because it's a hotel is 60. So the hotel is the wedding is big enough. You got the wedding party and something else. So the package of all that you could basically rent a hotel and meal side of the tracks. Yeah. So, so a lot of folks don't know that I'm broke.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. And people just like invest. How much used to be back then. Used to be a bank. Private French. And French. That's why it's called. I guess it's French. Right, something like that. And you know, we have the rest of them snake comes back. It started out as a Canadian now it's the States. They got those folks that are rented out the lobby for the sections. Opposed to just the lobby aspect of the sections. So, to use it.
Make that investment. Make that investment. Now, do you think that was
Sure, Hollywood made that connection for him. For some history, history from those vendors, and if they still have whatever function they decided to sell it. They sold it to a guy who said, I'll keep it as a golf course and make it a public course, which is what he did. He's invested money in the course. Some of the communities, people want to invest. My guess is that there are some sort of want to invest in communities, but they're looking at sometimes politics. Politics allow me to invest or encourage me to invest in that community. And sometimes politics is like folks who say it's my money. I'll just take my money.
how do you feel about that? And, you know, as people tend to, how do you feel? Because you hear about the politics and shit. How do you feel about that?
It's tough, to hear, but sometimes it's just going to take that one person willing, to make the investment to stick it. That one person that you got to invest in other things. So sometimes it just takes that one, but sometimes we talk about politics of communities, but it does make it's tough. Particularly when someone like you and us, and people who have this sort of I know, I'm going to talk to you open, so that would went that talk about it. It's difficult to hear sometimes because that person turn the whole thing around. I'm truly turning it around, and if they're willing to make the right investment, it could be hard. But sometimes, and I say weird, so community in a way where they know we have a speak, but know they will go to another town or neighbor town to spend it. One of the neat facts that's interesting about the Susquehanna community is that, and I always use these two as an example because they're right next to each other, is Homewood and Harvey. Uh, Harvey has 25,000 people. Homewood has 2,000. Homewood has still, well, it used to be one, but they have three full service grocery stores. And they got a half a grocery store because of the Target, the market in Target. So before Walmart left, they had food. Now they got three, two jewel stores and Albertsons, which used to be malls. Right? So Walmart, you still have some great grocery stores. Harvey has twice as many. Doesn't have a full service grocery store.
No, they don't. Not at all.
And you got to wonder why is that the case that no grocery store which can access public assistance, I mean that's an application to the state to take link and other
Right.
things like
Okay.
that.
So that's the
And,
state.
tho-
That's
and
where
those
the state
folks,
comes in and help.
it can help because those folks don't have are going to want to spend money.
They don't have anywhere else. Oh,
Right.
and that's where the comes back to the city.
In the states. But
Wow.
it's interesting that grocery store would want to locate. And it's interesting because I grew up, and so I remember a day when Harvey had at least two grocery stores. And, one of them was very close to my house, and it was Kroger, which still exists in other states. But Kroger was a grocery store in Harvey, right off Which Street, six, I think it was. And then on the other side of town was something called Triple or something like that. I forget the name, but it was off Sibley, like Page Avenue. It was a grocery store, and actually there was a third one, 150. Right now, it's just a big open line. There's an apartment right across the street on the other. But like open line. Now, part of it was not sure if that's what happened. It's a big grocery store. So Harvey was a community. We had a garden with plants, steel, had retail because they had the bar. So it had all the pieces. And maybe say it was because when the steel industry moved out, people lost their jobs, they moved. Maybe that was the beginning of the decline. I'm not sure, but people that are still there, why shouldn't they still have access to the grocery store? At the very least, the grocery store, or at least the store where I could have public stores. So if somebody is have money, just making decisions. I don't know what's happening.
Now, when we in that sense, that type of decision, what would you? How would you react? Let's say, would you say this is right? Like, kind of because there are there are people come that have in the South
Mhm.
that can invest occasionally that happen. And that's so, I mean, how would you look at that? Would you say, it's going to be up?
That's a little difficult to answer. Uh, and I think the idea would be you have to but depending on, I would say, depending on investment decisions. You think about what big box some of these things. When I started in the legislature 25 years ago, Lincoln always started to go. So and so I remember at the time state current Congressman Rob Kelly, state rep. We had a meeting at what was the Calumet Country with the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. So they're the advocacy lobbying arm for a lot of the big box stores.
Okay.
And as we started to have that conversation, we were in that conversation and asking them, like, what's going on? What's happening that you are now starting to see that retail space move for the rest of Oregon? And in his explanation, he said the one thing, couple of things that they look at rooftops, rooftops, traffic counts, and median income. And that puzzled us because at the time, and again, this is going back to the early 2000s, the traffic counts on Cicero and Lincoln Avenue very high still, very high still. The rooftops, have rooftops, people live in those areas.
That's true.
And in addition to that, the median income within a 2 mile radius of the mall was still $90,000. So there's money, there's people, but then that's when you start to say, it's just redlining. They just
Yeah, now that's what I'm trying to
That's
understand.
that's
Because
what it is.
that is true in the early 2000s. That was
other than the people that control that, which probably most of us just make decisions in those locations. So I think no, we still follow because we still have shot. You know, I can like it's wrong. I was ready to have them closed in order to but it was one of the more profitable ones. But they closed that in the limited park state. I mean, you start
Okay,
to,
yeah, you kind of want to
you know,
wonder
these
about that.
conspiracy, you know, when they call conspiracy theories or whatever the case may be, this kind of thing, it was people hate that.
Right, because right on
You know,
Lincoln Highway, Lincoln Highway in that especially, that is driving retail highway.
that was a retail corridor.
Exactly, and it still is kind of, it still is.
Yes. It's trying to get itself back
Right,
together.
right.
So, and so you wonder what I think the DMV, folks that control that, that look like us, and they made the decision to request knowing that, you know, and I know we talk about boycotts because it's tough. It's different.
I mean, I get it and I understand it, but at the end of the day, how many is going to be,
Really boycott.
really boycott? I mean, if you're going to really boycott, I get it, but talking about it, and snap a finger, I've seen it. I've gone out to, cover it. What did you do? What did you do? What's the purpose? I'm for boycotting if it's necessary, when it's necessary. But at the end of the day, you can't boycott yours. You can't boycott Walmart. You can't boycott Target because it's a necessity that has to be. If you're doing that, so if we did have a so, would we not, would we support that? Would we truly support, and I'm talking about in a consistent, not, I'm going here and get this part, but I still go here and everything else. Right? Would and that brings to mind it's not really and I was thinking in my mind, go out there, interview them, talk to them, see how they
you know, I don't know what else to say. I'm talking about the state. In the past, we have tried to put grocery stores, but it was just grocery stores. But it would be good to have a conversation with them. What would it take to move to the second location in the South Side? And it would need to be a real conversation because I mean, they're really set up, but then further into that conversation, you know, okay. So if we are always under the premise that small businesses in particular, because they don't do the volume or they don't buy it, the prices are going to be a little bit higher. Are we ready to pay a little higher price for some of the products? We'll be willing to still pay them in order to keep them in business. So one of the other stores. And we don't, but those are the questions that ultimately have to be answered, and they have to be answered by us. Okay, how much are we willing to patronize?
be consistent
and
be consistent in that
and to your point, even though on say 87th Street, am I willing to take that drive from Third to 87th Street?
Of course.
Well, but see, what's interesting about that is I can say, of course, not because it's real hard
Mm.
to get that congregation. And whenever I think about, okay, I'm ready for some caramel cake, that's the only place I'm going.
That's where we gonna go.
Right. So would I be willing to kind of see that grocery store the same thing? That grocery store, I'm going to do that extra, ride that extra 15 minutes. These are just conscious decisions that we have to make, and it's talk to people who do, this is a true choice. Make it because I want to support business. I want to support that black community. I want to sense that, and I'm going to do what's necessary. And how many of us are just willing to, look to go out and have a business?
I mean, like I said, I'm definitely looking to some sort of podcast business. See like we're getting out here, and then having that type of discussion, and that would be great for you. I like having that discussion.
That's where the politics plays into it, because if the state has had programs before, probably not successful, then if they are willing, that's the business of the go out there to various offices in the state and say, we need,
Gotcha.
they're willing, but this is the type of stuff that we need. And if there's history that we've tried it, whether it happened, whether it worked or not, but it's history that we tried it. Well, here's somebody saying, if it's available to me, I will utilize it. I will take advantage of it and bring something out to said community. And, so
That would be great.
So that's the politics of it, where I'm willing to work with them and walk them into whatever office is necessary to start a dialogue. Because for me, sometimes politics is, I'll say, it's asking the question, but it's actually trying to put feet to the fire, so to speak.
Mhm.
So DCEO, which is our state's kind of economic development agency, if I take a business owner who's shown their track record in this space, and I go, okay, DCEO, what can we do to incentivize this space? The question becomes, do they really want to do it? If they don't, am I willing to step and say, I took them to DCEO? The DCEO said no, so they were turning down a black business who wanted to grow the black community and bring a business to the black community to help people be healthier with fresh fruits and vegetables. They said, and that's kind of pointing the finger at it's kind of pointing the finger at all of us in the state. Everyone in the state, where we can't figure that out. But right? We can build a continent. It's like we can invest here. If we can invest money to build black business she would not want me to have said that.
But see, this Deep Talk Radio. So that's why we love it.
She would not want me to say that. But I mean,
That's why we love it. It's Deep Talk Radio.
As a state rep, sometimes I got to point the finger myself. Because I'm part.
You have to.
I got to check on myself.
I so appreciate it. Like I said, I definitely want to talk to you. Also, I definitely have, just to kind of, what we want to do is just really together, because I know that as a business owner, as a black business owner, and this type of people, it puts me in certain positions that I would rather give to the community. It's not about me. I'm covered. I'm good. I understand. I want to be able to give back to the community. I love the South Side. Everybody out west, I love y'all. Okay. I know y'all are watching. But we're out west. I just felt that the South Side and again, at the same time, I want to get back to it. So it's not just focusing on the entire South. So I work with you, Rob,
Senator.
Senator.
No, right.
Yes, yes. So I'm supposed to be talking to him, and so we really need to kind of just let together, make that happen. And, I said I would definitely, but I definitely want to stay in touch because we have to make that happen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Davis, State Representative, I am Tronce, Jalen Lou, Chicago Festival next week. Uh, this is Deep Talk Radio, South Suburban Regional Media Network. Please get ready to see us again in the next 2 weeks. Probably Davis back again. And a couple of businesses that we involved actually housing. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about properties, fire properties, and what happened as well. See how that's not
Okay, well, I mean, whatever I can offer from a policy standpoint, would love to talk about legislative process
yes,
and how change can be effected in legislation.
okay.
Right? Introduction of legislation and advocacy from citizens should be provided in there to engage listeners about, and again, I mean, maybe I'm not usual in the sense that, I sometimes have to take the blame for some of it,
Mhm.
but the political process isn't just election. It's so much more than just elections. Even right now, we are walking with starting our next. This, we're in 50 minutes. So, we're going to go through the legislative session. And with some businesses, organizations, trying to figure out where their place is in the overall state budget. That's a conversation that should be had in the legislature right now. It's not waiting until January. Let's start to building those relationships, sharing the content programs, so it's not seem like that everything that's put out there can be free. Uh, but nevertheless, folks want to see the state's budget. I'm just simply saying that and they start now, not waiting until January, not waiting until April, May of next year. May, but conversation should be starting at that point. Should be starting, identifying who your legislators are, and at least beginning to share with them the program, the project that you're working on, and
Yeah,
see if there are connections.
and great. I did send that out. Well, I think I sent it out. You know, also, you know, great. You know, but we are going to be again, so I'm going to keep requesting that, and yeah, definitely going to have this type of conversation. And as I said, Harvey is just Harvey's been but that's positive. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Davis, I want to say thank you so much for Deep Talk, watching Deep Talk Radio, South Florida News Network, and us back on again. And of course, as you just heard, we are going to start having some good conversations in regards to legislation. How we all come together and start working better. We didn't get a chance to touch on the airport, but we'll touch on that. We'll touch on that on the next go around. Yeah, thank you so much. Talk to you later. Peace.